And did you receive a diagnosis?
Yes.
And what did they tell you you were suffering from?
They didn't tell to me. I don't know what they diagnosed me with, but I do have diagnosis from my psychiatrist and psychologist in New York from my first divorce, my first marriage, divorce.
Did they talk? Do you know? Did they talk with Carl about your diagnosis and what was going on?
I believe so.
Okay. And when you got out of...
Actually they did. I remember the nurse talking to him. I don't know what she said to him, but she did speak to him.
When you came home from St. Joseph, you found all the firearms had been removed from the house?
Correct.
Okay. And do you know where they went to?
They went to his uncle's house, Uncle Dave.
Okay.
And then he brought them back later on, but for a while, initially, he took them to his uncle's house.
Okay. And at some point, did he lock them up in the Subaru?
I don't have that information.
Okay. And you were prescribed Zoloft and lorazepam at St. Joseph's?
That too, maybe a third thing, but at least those two, yes.
Okay. And they ordered you to follow up with counseling after your release?
Yes, they did.
Okay. And did you follow up with counseling?
We went to one session together, and I went to one session by myself, maybe two. I think one I remember clearly, the other one I'm not sure.
Okay. And Carl stayed home with you for about 5 days after you got out of the hospital?
I don't know how many days exactly, but it felt like a week, and he was very nice to me. For the first time, he was buying things for the house, spending money on Bath and Beyond, and bought all new sheets, comforter for us. He was trying hard.
And so you got out of the hospital on February 12th, and on February 13th you went to work?
Yes.
And what happened when you went to work?
I got fired that day.
And why did you get fired?
Because I missed the important... I was in the middle of an audit for workers' union, and I failed my assignment. I was the only auditor, only accountant on doing that audit. I was doing it all by myself, and I missed the deadline, and it hurts the firm with their client, and they were very upset at me. They fired me.
Okay. And after you got out of hospital, did you start thinking about the reasons that you attempted suicide?
Yes, I did.
And what were the reasons you think you attempted suicide?
I think suicide because of the pregnancy, his refusal to keep the baby.
And did you have anybody in...
I'm sorry, you're talking about the second suicide attempt? Oh, okay, no, I'm sorry. My mind completely mixed up two situations. No, that was about something else. That was about his situation. He was not doing well. It was affecting me.
Okay. And did you decide to do anything after you got out of the hospital to try and make yourself feel better or get out of the situation?
I called his family.
Okay.
I called his family to let them know that he was sick and he needed medical help, psychiatric help. I wasn't able to help him anymore, to stand up to him. I wasn't strong enough by myself to control him. I needed help from his parents, from his family.
And
so I let the cat out of the bag. I spilled the beans. I let everybody know that that man was suffering from psychological issues.
Okay, well, let's stop there. So you talked to his family and told them what was going on?
I had to.
Okay. And you had a meeting with his parents?
I requested a meeting with the entire family in my house to let them know everything that was going on in that marriage. Like short from what was going on sexually.
Well,
that's the only thing I didn't review, but everything else I reviewed about the money. Also, I didn't review about, sexual part I didn't review. I thought it was too much.
Okay, so you told everybody that the marriage wasn't going well and that Carl was suffering from mental health problems.
From mental problems. He was suffering from mental problems. He needed a psychiatric help, intervention, immediate psychiatric intervention.
And on your interview we already watched, this is the point where I believe you talked about Steve, his brother, coming in.
Unfortunately, things were going well in that meeting. I was getting a lot of support from his parents. I was telling them what was going on. We had a plan. They were encouraging me to stand up to Carl and tell him I was not going to obey his rules anymore, that I was not a robot, I was a human being. They were encouraging me. I liked to wear a baseball cap. They said, you're going to wear your baseball cap, you're going to wear your sneakers, you're going to wear your workout pants that you like to wear them when he's not around. Well, when he's around, you're going to do all of that. We're behind you. So I started doing that. And Carl went crazy on me. He didn't accept my rebellion. And then it got to a point that Carl was so sick and I wasn't doing well myself. I couldn't no longer be his doctor and take care of him. So I needed his family to know that Carl needs medical intervention. But then during that meeting, when we are putting everything out in the open, Steve Hoerig misunderstood me. I know he meant well. I was mad at him a year ago, but I thought about it. His intention was right. He was correct in what he said. He said, you should solve your own marital problems. Do not ever call my family, get me out of my house, to come to your house to solve your marital problems. I understand his point of view now, but what he didn't know the story from the beginning, because I was already talking to his parents. He didn't know that I had been talking to his parents about Carl's illness. So when he said that, I felt really desperate. I felt like, oh my God, if he's ordering his parents not to help me anymore, not to support me anymore, I'm back to square one. I'm back to nobody knowing what goes on inside of this house. I don't have family or friends in here, in this country. I'm all by myself. There is no way out of this. What am I going to do? I cannot. I'm by myself. I cannot handle this man. So that day led me to my second attempt of suicide. When Steve Hoerig said, do not involve my parents in your marital situation, and do not involve me or in my wife in your marital problems. That was too much for me to handle. And that day, I tried to commit suicide again with pills, since I didn't have any more guns in the house because Carl had taken them out of the house.
Okay. Now, that was so the first time was with a firearm. The second attempt was when you drove off the road after taking sleeping pills.
I took the sleeping pills and I got in the car and I got into a car accident.
And then this third time you took some pills in the house.
No, the third time was when I made the wood board.
So just so I follow, this argument with the family and with Steve was before you took the pills and drove off the road?
Was that same day. Was first we had the whole family in his house, and I told them the whole story, everything that Carl was doing to harm himself and me. And then when Steve said, look, don't get us involved, I felt desperate. I felt like I had nobody to help me. So I just, I wanted to die. I couldn't handle this anymore.
Okay.
I just want to die.
And so after you got out of St. Joseph's Hospital, did you start thinking about getting a divorce?
Oh yeah, he tried. He really, really tried for, let's say, a week. He was there. But somehow I wasn't anymore. And I said, no, it's not going to work anymore. We're going to get a divorce. So I turned into Carl, and Carl turned into Claudia. Carl wanted to make the marriage work, and Claudia didn't want the marriage to work anymore. I started pushing him away. I wanted a divorce, but I didn't know that I was pregnant at that time.
Okay. And about February 18th of 2017, did you go back on Match.com?
Yeah, I figured that it was not going to be easy to move back to Ohio. It was not going to be easy to move back to New York because my resume wasn't good anymore, and I figured that it would be best if I stayed in Ohio, that I tried a new job here in Ohio, and I said, well, then I'll start dating here in Ohio. And I went on Match.com and I started looking for a boyfriend.
And did you meet somebody?
I did.
And what was his name?
Bruce Rogers.
And did you guys start carrying on correspondence?
Yeah, we spoke on the phone quite a bit, a lot, and I told him about all my marital problems, my first husband in New York, my divorce. He knew quite a bit about my life, and then we met. But then Carl, he didn't want the divorce, and he started asking for another chance. And then I was like divided between somebody that I had already met and Carl asking for forgiveness. And I figured, well, if he's asking for forgiveness and I'm married to him, it's easier that I give him another chance.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit L1. And do you recognize that?
I do.
And what is that?
It's me joining Match.com on February 18th.
Okay. And what are the rest of those documents?
The second page is, hi Bruce.
Well, don't read to me, just...
Yeah, hi Bruce. And my first, it's 2 lines here, me contacting Bruce.
Okay, it's you about contacting Bruce. Can you flip through the rest of those and see if you recognize them as well?
These are emails that I exchanged with Bruce quite a bit, quite a lot of emails.
Are those true and accurate copies of your communications with Bruce?
Yes, they are.
And so from February 18th through the beginning of March, you were talking with Bruce and seeing him, correct?
Yeah.
And you told him all about your problems you were having in your marriage?
I did.
And you told him you guys were going to separate?
I said that we were separated in the house, but still under the same roof.
Okay. And in the end of March, right before March 12th, you stopped talking with Bruce, right?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
A little bit before March 12th, you stopped talking with Bruce, right?
I did.
You broke things off.
I did.
And that was because you decided you were going to go back to New York.
Well, after I met Bruce, I realized that I didn't have enough feelings for him to keep me here in Ohio, and I started talking to my former bosses in New York. They said I could go back, to my old jobs. That gave me a light in the end of the tunnel, because I thought in New York all doors were closed for me job-wise. And then when I realized that those doors were still open, I became very excited about going back to New York. But I had already befriended Bruce, and I didn't want to hurt him. And Carl was still trying to convince me not to go ahead with the divorce, but I wanted to go ahead with the divorce.
Okay. And so in early March, you were thinking about a divorce, and you were thinking about going back to New York and moving back into the condo you still owned and going back to your old job?
I was, and I asked Carl, I said, Carl, don't panic, don't go into a panic. If we're meant to be together, you need to date other people. Go back to the Bergata and remember why you left her in the first place. And if you really have the true feelings for me, and if I have the true feelings for you, we will get back together, no matter where I am, whether I'm in Ohio or in Brazil. If our feelings for each other is true and strong enough, we will get back together. But for right now, we need to see other people. I'm seeing Bruce. I told him about Bruce. I'm seeing another guy. I'm on Match. You know I'm on Match. Do the same thing. Get yourself a profile. Start dating other people. Date Bertha. Date whomever you want. But we need to know if we can fall in love again, because right now I don't feel that we should be together.
Okay. And let's fast forward to March 9th. March 9th, 2007, right? You remember that day?
I do.
Okay. And did you pay all your bills that day?
I paid all my bills, my car payment, my mortgage in New York. For my apartment in New York, I paid for the building maintenance. I paid for my Chapter 13. I paid a lot of my bills. That day that was on Thursday, March 9th.
Did you send $1,000 to your father?
I sent $1,000 to my father because that's something I did often, because I supported my sister who has lupus in Brazil.
Okay. And in the evening of March 9, 2007, something changed. Something happened that changed your outlook. What happened on the evening of March 9, 2007?
Well, I was kind of suspicious that perhaps I was pregnant. So I bought a pregnancy test, and that sometime in the afternoon or evening, I took a pregnancy test, and it was positive, one of those pharmacy pregnancy tests, and I was pregnant.
After you found out you were pregnant, everything changed, and what did you do?
Well, I went into a panic, so what am I going to do? I asked for divorce. I'm dating another guy. He's seen Bertha. What am I going to do now? I'm going to tell him that I don't want this divorce anymore. I freaked out. And pregnancy was never a reason for Carl for him to think that that's the reason to make things work out. So I knew my chances of reverting the damage of pushing him away, telling him to go date Bertha or whomever he wanted to date, me dating another guy. He saw that I had a profile. I thought I'd done so much damage to my marriage. And now if I tell him I'm pregnant, my chances of me fixing this damage is very small. So I'll prepare plan B, which is, if I cannot reverse the damage, if I cannot convince him to try one more time, I'm going to kill myself, because I have no job, I have no means of supporting this child, and I cannot have an abortion. So I really thought that my only way out of that mess was to kill myself.
And that was plan B. What was plan A?
Plan A was to convince him to try one more time, and actually I had no intentions of telling him of my pregnancy. I thought, let me first fix the first damage of pushing him away, pushing him to Bertha, making him forgive me for dating another guy, and if I can convince him of that, if I can bring my pregnancy, like at least carry this pregnancy at least 2 or 3 months more, then he won't force me into an abortion, because he's not going to do that. If I'm like 5 months pregnant, 6 months pregnant, he's not going to force me into an abortion at that point. So my plan was to hide the pregnancy from him and try to make him change his mind about the divorce.
But you decided not to go with that plan, right?
I did go with that plan. I wrote him a letter asking, begging for forgiveness.
And that was an email you sent, correct?
Yes.
Now, you sent that letter to both Carl and also Chris Swegan?
I sent it to Chris Swegan and maybe to Gary Dodge, I'm not sure, because they were confident. Carl had them as confidence, and I was confiding them and having them advise Carl, because Carl had a weak mind, he listened to people. I thought they were more sensible guys, they were going to give him the right advice. So I did send this a letter, a copy to Chris Swegan, I know for sure, maybe Gary Dodge, I'm not sure, in hope that they would advise Carl to work on his marriage.
Okay. I've put up there for you to look at Exhibit N1. Do you recognize that item?
Yes, do.
And what is that?
That's the email that I wrote on the AM hours of March 12th.
Okay. So this is the letter we're talking about?
That's the letter I'm talking about. That's the same letter I gave to Carl when he got home on Monday morning.
Okay, so let's go back. So March 9th, you figure out that you're pregnant. Now, Carl is out of town flying on December 10th and 11th, right? Or March 10th and 11th, he's out of town.
Yes, he is.
And he's going to come back on the morning of the 12th.
Monday morning, the 12th.
Okay. So you type up this long letter and you email it to him so that he'll get it when he comes home on the 12th.
I emailed it to him, and I sent a copy to Chris Swegan, and I printed a copy and I handed it to him. So I sent it I sent it to Barbara Silver, my friend in New York. I sent it to more people.
Okay. And so you sent this letter to various people. Now, that was on the early morning of the 12th, right?
Yes.
Now, going back to March 10th, on March 10th, you started to put your plan to commit suicide in place, correct?
That was Saturday, yes.
Okay. So the first thing you did was you went to your safe deposit box and took out $9,900 to send to your dad?
Yes, I had already worked on that on the 9th. I sent an email to the manager of the bank, I forgot her name, and I let her know that on Saturday morning I was going to be there to put the money on the account, but the order for the transfer had been placed on Friday.
And was that all the money you had left in the safe deposit box?
That was all the money.
And that was the remainder of the $40,000 you started with?
That's correct.
And why were you going to send that to your dad?
Well, if I'm going to die, so I don't want Carl to have that money.
Okay. And then after that, you went to Slugmasters?
Yes, the gun place, yes.
And what did you do at the gun place?
I wanted to buy a gun to commit suicide.
Okay. And you bought a .357 Magnum?
I don't know what those numbers mean. I bought a gun with 5 bullets. I don't know what they mean.
Okay. You bought a revolver with they would hold 5 bullets, right?
That's what I did.
Okay. And then you went to the shooting range?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you knew about slug masters in the shooting range because that's places Carl had taken you?
Yeah, Carl almost took me there.
And so you went to the shooting range to practice with the gun?
I went there to practice with a gun.
Okay. Now, at slug masters, you had them put a laser sight on the gun?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Why did you have them put a laser sight on the gun?
Because I wanted to understand what recoil was. There was a file on the internet that I downloaded with the various methods of how to commit suicide. And the best one, the safest, the most effective was with a gun. So in Ohio, in New York, you could not have had that plan in action because you cannot buy a gun in New York. But in Ohio, I could buy a gun. In New York, the best plan would have been to jump from a building. Since I was in Ohio, I was going to kill myself with the gun. And I needed to understand about recoil, because recoil is when you point here, but it's not going to shoot here. It's going to shoot below, above. The gun moves, so you don't hit your target. And they said most people, when they try suicide with a gun, more than 50%, or a great number, they wind up losing their face and not dying and still living. I said, man, if that happens to me, I'm going to be in worse shape. If he treats me when I'm beautiful, young, and what's he going to do to me if I'm missing my face?
Okay.
So
you wanted to understand.
I want to be effective and to really succeed in killing myself.
So you went to the gun range to practice to see how far from the laser the gun shot, right?
And not only that, my hands are small. I want to know if I was the shooting a gun is so powerful that it would fall out of my hands. I want to have the feel of what it is to shoot with that gun. I want to feel that gun in my hand to see if that was the right gun. I wanted to be certain that my plan was going to work. So I was making sure that I had a good handle of that gun. And I could not read from a book. I had to see in real life what was the feeling of shooting with that gun.
Did you figure out that you could solve the problem with the recoil just by holding the gun and using the laser?
No, you can't. The recoil, you have no control over your recoil. And then I figured that I had to think of something else.
Okay. And so when you were at the gun range, did the guy there try to sell you a second gun?
He did. He was a salesperson. That's what they do.
Okay. And why didn't you buy the second gun?
Because after I shot, I realized that I had a real concern of pulling the trigger. I thought maybe trigger was more hard for my hand. I don't have much strength with my hand. So when he started saying, this is a gun that you just touch the trigger and it shoots. So I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. I kind of thought, that's better. But after I shot with the gun, I said, it's not so hard to shoot, to pull the trigger, so I really have no gun. I don't need a second gun. But he was pushing me into buying that gun. I didn't know how to say no to him. So I gave him a credit card that I knew didn't have enough limit. Instead of telling him, no, I don't want to buy that gun, I just gave him a credit card that didn't have enough limit in it.
And then after you left the shooting range, you went to Gander Mountain to purchase ammunition?
Yes, I did.
And then you went home on March 10th, and then on March 10th and 11th, you worked on building a suicide device.
Yes, I did.
And why do you think you needed to build the suicide device?
Because the recoil, you can control recoil. The gun can can do things that you don't expect it to do. So I had to stabilize that gun to make sure that the gun was not going to shoot up or down or sideways. And I thought that if I built a wood block and had a seat and measured that wood block to have a hole in the middle of it, that I would stick a gun through it and just pull the trigger, there would be no recoil. The gun would not move. So if I measured correctly to my temple, which I figured that the best point in your head to secure killing someone would be right at this point. So I measured the wood. I took a measuring tape and I measured where my temple would be in that door frame, and I had the exact measurement. So I just adjusted the block, I screwed it, and adjusted in a way that the hole in the middle of the wood would match the measuring on the wood frame, which matched my temple. If I was sitting on that little beige stool that you saw inside of the closet, so if I was sitting there, that hole in that wood would match exactly right here in my head.
So you took a block of wood and cut or drilled out a hole for the gun to fit in, correct?
Yes.
And then you went and measured and mounted the wood to the door frame of the closet in what had been Carl's daughter's room?
Yes, he never went in that room.
Okay. And you had a little stool that you were going to sit on?
Yeah, a little beige stool.
Okay. And the plan was you would just reach around and pull the trigger?
Yeah, the wood would be here right, touching my face, and I would just put my hand over, is that how? And pull the trigger. There would be no recoil.
Because it was stuck in the wood mounted to the...
Right, the gun would not move. It was secure in place.
And so you built that and installed that on March 11th?
It's Sunday, yes.
And then that evening, you got on your computer and searched the internet for suicide by 357, suicide by gun, and researched people who killed themselves by suicide or killed themselves by firearms?
Yes, spent many hours looking for stories of people that they commit suicide with a gun, and what they looked like after they shot themselves. What the possibility? Some stories of people that only lost their part of their face and didn't die. I wanted to see what they did wrong, so I wouldn't do anything wrong. Because in the book it doesn't say exactly where is the point in your head that is most effective for you to die. But I figured that if you took someone's head, where is the center point in your head? I figured that it's right here. That's what I figured, So I figured that if I shot myself with one of those expanding bullets, that I would make sure that my brain would explode. I would not live. I didn't want to live. I wanted to die from one bullet and end it all, and not have the risk of living and being paraplegic or.
Okay, so at this point in time, you had two plans. Plan A was that you were going to try and reconcile with Carl, let him know you were pregnant, and hopefully he would let you have the baby and you could continue your marriage, correct?
That was plan A.
And plan B was if he rejected you like he did on the prior occasions, you were going to kill yourself with the device unit.
That was plan B.
Because you would.
I was hoping that I was not going to get to killing myself.
But you kind of thought it would.
I knew in my head, if he said no, I definitely was going to kill myself. I wasn't joking. I wasn't joking around. I meant to kill myself.
And you preferred killing yourself to having an abortion?
Oh, absolutely.
And so then, the morning of March 12th, Carl comes home from being away, right?
Yes,
He comes home sometime between 9 and 10.
that's correct.
He comes in the house and he goes upstairs and you meet him in the master bedroom, right?
Some point we made it to master bedroom, but maybe I met him by the door, and I think I met him by the door, and I gave him the letter for him to read.
Okay.
I think he read the letter. I don't remember much of that, but he did read the letter. Yes,
Okay. But eventually you guys ended upstairs in the master bedroom.
we did.
And it was that point that you showed him the pregnancy test.
I did.
Now, earlier you said your plan was to let the pregnancy kind of get along to the point where he couldn't say no.
Right. I was not planning on telling him that I was pregnant that day. It was my emotions that got the best of me, and I showed him the pregnancy test, even though it was not my plan to show him my pregnancy test.
And how did he respond to the pregnancy test?
He said he didn't care that I was pregnant.
What else?
It didn't mean it. Didn't. It was not. That's some subject he didn't want to talk about.
Okay. And did you talk to him about having an abortion?
I asked him why can I have this baby. He said we discussed that, and I don't want you to have a baby. I'm not gonna have a baby. He gave me a bunch of reasons why I couldn't have a baby. And I asked him a bunch of times, why? And he always had one excuse worse than the other. One was that he never wanted to have another baby. He never wanted a baby in his life, but he had to. He never wanted to be a father. And his first wife trapped him into marriage by being pregnant. And he didn't want to, that didn't sit well with him. A woman coming to him and say, I'm pregnant. It didn't sit well with him. I said, why can I have this baby? He said, I don't want to be a father. Then I asked again. Then I gave him an option. I can go back to New York, have it by myself. He said, I don't want to be a father. Then I think I said, I go back to New York, have it by myself. Then he said something about later, sooner or later, you're gonna ask me for money. Then I kept asking him why, and then he said, I'm gonna adopt my grandchild, Eva, my daughter. She's 18, she's pregnant, she's 8 months pregnant, and I'm gonna adopt her son so she can go to school. So in my head, okay, so I'm gonna have to kill my child so Eva can have a baby. You can raise your grandson, and I cannot have my baby. I'm giving you all those options. I can raise it by myself. I can go back to New York. You're never gonna have everything. He had an answer, just why I couldn't have that baby.
Okay.
So eventually he got very angry with me. He hit me.
Well, let's stop there and back up for a second. Was that the first time you had heard about this plan to adopt Ava's child?
Oh yeah, never. That was such a betrayal. I felt so hurt by him saying that, he was choosing between another baby and my baby. He didn't feel like a baby was his. It's like it was only my baby.
Okay. And I think you ended with, so the argument kept going, and then you said he hit you?
He hit me.
And where did he hit you?
He just grabbed me by my throat and threw me on the bed, and then we start a struggle.
Okay. And what happened next?
Eventually he stopped that, and he came to his senses. He stopped, and he asked me to leave the room, that he was going to shower, and he said we're going to continue that conversation after he showered.
Okay. And you left the room?
I left the room.
Did he lock the door?
He locked the door from inside, yes.
Okay. And after you left the room, what did you do?
It took forever. I was anxious, so I was walking all over the house, up and down. And since I thought about sleeping pills, I had no more sleeping pills in the house because I had taken them all a month before, almost to the day. So I found a bottle of moonshine in our kitchen, something that we bought when we went to Brazil on our trip.
Now,
Never opened it. That day I opened it and I started drinking. And I'm not used to alcohol. And I started drinking that.
and,
Try to calm myself down.
okay. And as you started drinking, what did you start thinking about?
I started thinking, this is not going to work. I'm going to really have to kill myself. And I was really imagining me dying. And I was thinking of other ways of convincing him to let me have the baby. So my mind was racing in both directions. In the direction of killing myself, imagining the whole thing, and in the direction of what else can I say to this man to make him change his mind about this baby. I cannot raise this child by myself. I basically wanted him to change his mind and make the marriage work, so I had the financial means of raising a child, because by myself I didn't think I could.
And at some point, did your thoughts turn to the gun you bought to commit suicide?
Well, I thought my chances were very, very small of making him change his mind. He was already seeing Bergata or whomever he was seeing. I don't know how he really felt about me seeing Bruce. I don't know if he resented me for that, even though I told him I didn't sleep with him. I don't know how it sat with him. But in my mind, he was not going to forgive that part. So I said, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this gun to my head when he opens that door and see if I can make him realize that I'm in pain here. I'm desperate. I want him to realize that I'm really desperate. I want him to take me seriously, and I want to talk more. I thought that maybe if I had more chance to say more things to him, if we sat and looked eye to eye, I would have a better chance. So all I wanted is more of his attention. When I put that gun to my head, I didn't really think at that moment I was going to pull that trigger. I wanted his attention.
Well, let's stop there and go back. Where was the gun at?
The gun was in my pocket. First, initially, it was in a little bag. A little, they call it, it's this small, with a small strap. And then I moved it from that. While I was pacing inside the house, it was in my shoulder inside this bag. And then when I heard noises that he was going to come out of the room, I put it inside my pocket. I was wearing a white coat, and I put it inside my pocket. I was kind of getting ready to make, when he was open the door, he was going to see me with the gun.
And so then you walked up to the landing, out the landing, the little area in front of the doorway at the top of the stairs?
When I heard the noise and I thought he was getting close to the moment of opening the bedroom door, I positioned myself standing there in front of the door with the gun to my head.
And that was the door to the bedroom?
The door to the master bedroom.
Okay. And you would have been standing in the little area at the top of the stairs?
Exactly.
Okay. And so he opens the door from the bedroom and you're standing there with the gun to your head?
Yes.
Okay. And what happens next?
When he opened the door, he saw that he didn't have much of a reaction. He just stared at me for a while. 5, 10 seconds. He didn't do a thing. he kept staring me, and I kept staring at him, and I was crying. I was crying, and he didn't have any emotions to his face. Nothing. I couldn't read him. No emotion. All of a sudden, he grabbed me. He grabbed my wrist and my throat, and he grabbed me, and he just grabbed me. And then when he was done grabbing me, he just pushed me. He pushed me, and I fell back, and I hit a wall, or there was a bedroom in the middle. I hit that wall, the door frame in that area. I hit my back, my head, and I just stayed there. We continued talking for a while I was on the floor and he was standing.
Okay, so he grabbed you by the throat and pushed you down, and then you guys started talking?
We still were talking.
Okay, what were you talking about?
I think I was asking him to continue that conversation, and he didn't want to continue that conversation. And he ended my attempt of talking to him and convincing him to talk more with me. He cut me short, and then he just said that he didn't care. He thought it was a good idea.
Well, let's stop there. When you said you two were talking, were you just talking to him, or was he talking back to you?
I was doing the talking, and he was doing shaking his head like we're done talking.
And then I cut you off when you started. What did he say to you?
I was talking, and so I said maybe 3 or 4 sentences, and he just kept shaking his head like, no, I don't want to talk anymore. And then he said that was a good idea. Why didn't he wait for me? Why didn't I wait for him to leave the house and then go to the basement and shoot myself in the basement so I wouldn't get blood in his paintings? Paintings, what I mean is pictures hanging on the wall by the stairway.
Carl collected paintings.
He was a painting collector, yes.
Okay. And so what he was telling you was, go ahead, kill
I'm going to
yourself.
object to this line of questioning.
So he had paintings that he didn't, that's what he was talking about, was his paintings?
Yeah, he didn't want me to kill myself in right there. He wanted me to go to the basement. He didn't want me to kill myself either on the first floor or the second floor. Told me to go to the basement and wait for him to leave the house. He said that.
And how'd that make you feel?
I felt very angry.
Okay. And what happened next?
Well, I thought to myself, well, that's it. There's no more talking. I'm going to kill myself. But you know what? If I'm going to die, he's going to get his wish. The child's going to die. The 3 of us are going to die here right now. So I just, when I started going down the steps, I just got up real fast and positioned myself behind him and I shot the first time, and he died instantly. And he just fell, his body just fell like this. And as he was going down, I think his right foot was still up in the air. And that's when it buckled and he lost his right shoe. And his body just went boom. It just, in my head, he was on the 3rd step going down. Maybe he was in the middle, maybe 4th, 5th, but he was in the middle of the stairs. And since he didn't make that sound, if you were paying, since he didn't make that sound, didn't move anymore, I know he died from the first shot. And then,
well, let's stop right there. So you were at the top of the steps, and you shot him as he was walking down the steps?
Yes.
And you shot him once?
I remember shooting the first time very vividly. I was on top of the stairs.
Okay. And you think that shot killed him?
I know it did.
Okay. And why did you think that shot killed him?
because he made no sound ever of being wounded, of hurting, and I saw that he never moved. The position that he felt, the position that he fell on the floor, he never moved from that position.
And so he fell on the floor at the bottom of the steps?
He did.
And then what did you do?
I want to say that I went down and shot him. Shot more. I don't know. I didn't know if I hit him or not. But in my head, I shot 3 times, and I hit him 3 times, saving 2 bullets for myself. I didn't realize that I had shot 5 times, but I know for sure in my head that I shot and hit him 3 times.
So you're walking down the steps and you shot him?
The first one I was on top of the stairs.
Okay.
And he died from this one, I know for sure. But in picking through my brain, I kind of see myself going down those steps and get to the bottom. And I believe that the shot number 2 and 3, I was next to him downstairs.
Did you check to see if he was still alive?
I did. I checked his breathing. Not at that second. I checked when right after I killed him, I shot him. I went to the bedroom where I had the wood block and I put the trigger to kill myself. Since I had already shot 5 times and I thought it was only 3, I put the trigger once. It was very, very difficult, but I did. My blood was hot and I did pull that trigger. Nothing happened, and then I thought, I don't know. I'll pull the trigger a second time. Nothing fired. Because what the heck? What happened here? It was so difficult. So I said, you know what, maybe the bullets are bad or something happened to this guy, I don't know. I ran to the basement to put 5 new bullets in the gun. And at that point I stopped and I saw his body, I realized what I had done. And I said, let me see if he's still alive, I'm going to call 911. And I checked for his breathing and I checked his pulse. He was dead. So I said, you know what? Now I gotta finish what I started. I ran and to pull the trigger the 3rd time, and my head set again on that little stool, and it was hard to pull the trigger, but that wasn't the reason. The reason why I thought about my family, I wanted to let them know what I did. I didn't want them to know that I did that through the newspaper. So I called them and I said, look, I did this. I lost my mind. I did this. I killed Carl. And I'm about to kill myself. I just want to say goodbye.
And you told 2 people.
I just want to say goodbye to you. I'm so sorry that I did that. That I let you down. I'm so sorry. And then I called my sister from the landline. And I called my father from the cell phone. And then I think they called each other from another phone. My father was talking to my sister also on the phone because my father was in his house. My sister was in her house. I was talking to both of them at the same time. And then my sister gave the phone to her husband, who is a pastor. And he said, talk to her while I talk to my father. And tell her not to commit suicide because she's a Christian, even though she has been away from church for a long time. It's there, and talk her out of it, talk about hell. So he started preaching to me, and I said, don't talk about hell, don't talk about hell, I need to do this, don't talk about hell to me, don't, that's not true. People that kill themselves don't go to hell. I gotta kill myself. Then I wasn't so sure that people that kill themselves wouldn't go to hell. So I kind of got scared. So my father started, I don't know, either my sister or my father, they were talking among themselves. I didn't hear that. They called somebody, some lawyer, somebody. They advised them, look, in Ohio there's death penalty. Get her out of the country. And my father, he asked me, do you know where your passport is? I said, yes, I do. And then he said, where is it? I said, it's in the bank. It's in the safe deposit box. He said, you're going to need it. I said, what for? He said, you're coming home. You're coming to Brazil. I said, no, I can't drive. I'm drunk. He said, do you have coffee in the house? I said, I do. He said, go make yourself a very strong cup of coffee. You're going to neutralize a little bit of this alcohol in your system. You're going to be able to drive. I said, I can't. I have nothing to. I want to die. I have nothing to live for. I don't. So I was telling him I was not going to go. He was telling me that I was going to go, and he started asking me, directing me. He started directing me. He said, go to the bank. Do you have money? He asked me, do you have money? I said, yeah, I have a little bit of money in the bank. He said, go to the bank, get your passport, get whatever money you can get, and drive to the airport, and you're going to get on a plane, and you're going to come to Brazil, you're going to come home. And I thought, my life is over. My father was directing me, and my father was not the type that would ever direct me or tell me what to do. I felt like that little girl that Daddy is taking care of. I allowed myself to be directed, and he directed me out of that place. I didn't even really have a reason to leave that place. I wanted to call the police and get it over with. Since I was not going to commit suicide anymore because my brother-in-law instilled that fear of death in me, of hell, I said, I'm not going to kill myself. I'm in bigger trouble. I caused them bigger trouble. Now, the minute that I'm alive, everything went wrong. I don't have the courage to kill myself. So it got worse. So I didn't really want to live. But I was going to call the police, and, I have no reason to live. But my father didn't let me. He directed me, and I followed those directions, just like my father said. He was on the phone with me, directing me to this, to that, and I'm a good direction taker. I took the direction. I made it to Pittsburgh Airport. I made it there. While I was driving there, I contacted Southwest. And I said, listen, my name is such and such, and I'm the wife of Carl. They were able to book me a flight for free that I didn't pay from Pittsburgh to LaGuardia in New York. I didn't pay for that part of the trip, but I did pay for my trip in cash from New York JFK Airport to Brazil. I paid that in cash. It was $900 something.
Well, let's stop there and let's walk back. We get back to the house. You talked with your dad on the phone, right?
I spoke with my father on the phone.
Okay. And after you talked with him on the phone, did you go do something on the computer?
Oh yeah, after that I went to look, because there are two ways to get to New York, either through Pittsburgh or to Cleveland Airport. So I went to see which airport there was a flight to New York. So I figured that Pittsburgh was the better flight to New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then at some point, did you cover Carl?
Yeah, I took my comforter from my bed and I put it over his body. I never touched his body, never moved his body. but I put that comforter over his body.
And why did you do that?
Because I thought if somebody came to the window, they would see his body, and then, I wouldn't have enough time to leave the country.
Okay. Did you pack anything up? Did you pack a bag? Did you pack stuff?
Not a single thing.
And after you left the house, did you drive to the bank?
I went straight to the bank.
Why'd you go to the bank?
I needed my passport that was in the safe deposit box, my school records, and some other documents. And I had $3,000, $3,400 in my checking account, so I withdrew only $3,100, and somehow I left the $300 in there. I was a little paranoid. I thought if I take the $3,400, somebody's going to stop me here in this bank. He's going to say, "What did you do?" Or, "Why are you closing up the account?" Or, "Can we have a minute with you so we can talk you into not closing up the account?" I don't know, a million things, and I got paranoid. So I figured that if I left $300, it wouldn't be so obvious that that I was going to Brazil, something like that. So I was a little paranoid at that point.
Now, when you talked to the officers on the video, you told them you took out $1,000, right?
Yeah, because it was a long time ago. I didn't even, in my mind it was had 3 zeros, so I thought it was $1,000. But when I saw my bank records, I saw it was actually $3,100. It was a long time ago. I don't remember much of the details after the moment that I shot Carl the first time. Everything's kind of fuzzy. The next 48 hours are not very clear on my mind.
So you drove to Pittsburgh Airport and flew to LaGuardia.
Yes.
And the flight to Brazil left from what airport?
From JFK.
Okay. And did you have a plan on how to get from LaGuardia to JFK?
Well, they are 5 minutes apart. You just take a cab, but I wanted to save as much money as I could. So I called a friend of mine and asked him for a ride. He was not available.
Okay. And so then you took a cab from one airport to the other?
Yes.
And then you bought the ticket and flew to Brazil?
That's correct.
Where did you fly to in Brazil?
The flight was New York, São Paulo.
São Paulo?
São Paulo.
Okay. And where's your father live?
My father lives in Rio de Janeiro, but there was no straight flight, so I had to buy another ticket to fly from São Paulo to Rio, which I did.
And so you got to Rio and were reunited with your father?
Yes.
And how long did you stay with your father?
About 3 or 4 days.
Okay. And where did you go after you stayed with your father?
Well, before that day, I just met with my father at the airport area. We cried together. I told him everything, and I said, "Dad, you know what I'm going to do next, right? I only came here to hug you, to give you a kiss. You know I have to do this." I didn't say the word suicide, but he knew what I meant. I gotta do this. I gotta finish what I started. I gotta do this. He knew. He didn't know that I was had ideas of jumping from the 19th floor of a hotel room in Copacabana. But he knew that I was gonna kill myself. So he tried to talk me out of it. I said, "There's no talking me out of it. There's no talking me out of it. Don't try." So after I spent a couple of hours with my father, I said, "You have to go, because I'm not going to involve you with this. The police is going to go be after me. And if they catch me in your house, they are going to arrest you." That's not true, but at the time I thought that if a parent or a family member hides somebody that has committed a crime in their house, they would get arrested. But actually, Brazilian laws, they are not like that. You cannot do that to a stranger, but to your own blood, you don't get arrested for that. So
let's move on here. So you were going to go to a hotel in Copacabana and kill yourself, right?
Yeah, since I got there in the afternoon, I was waiting until evening hours where less people walk by on the sidewalk, because I was thinking that there was a chance that I was going to jump and fall on top of somebody innocent and kill an innocent person. So I was waiting for evening hours where there are less people walking on the sidewalks, on the streets.
But you didn't kill yourself.
No, because after I got to the hotel, I called my father and I said, Dad, I'm here, I'm safe, I'm in a hotel room, I'm going to take some nap, and I just want to say that I love you. And so we said, oh, let's goodbye, and I went to sleep. And then I was sleeping, and half an hour, 40 minutes, 45 minutes after that, the phone rings, and it's calling me. And it was my father, and he had that number because I had just called him before to tell him where I was. And he said, I spoke to a lawyer, and I found out that, yes, you can be in my house, I'm not going to get arrested. You can stay in my house. I'm going to take you with me. You're my daughter, and I love you. When my father said those words to me, that's what I had waited for 42 hours to hear. My father's not a very loving father. I know he loves me. I know you love me, Dad. But he never said those words to me before. So when my father told me he loved me,
There are tissues behind you.
he brought out the little girl and me that just want to be in Dad's arms. So I said, God, I know I'm going to kill myself, but it doesn't have to be today. I can spend a couple more days with my dad. My father was never loving, Father. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry. But you know you were not. My father was, I know he had the love in his heart for me. He just didn't know how to express. That was the first time ever in my life he told me he loved me. So I want to be with him. I said, I'm going to go with my father. If there is a loving father there, I want to meet that father that I haven't met in 42 years. So I wanted to know that man that was in there that loved me. So I said, okay, I'm going to go with you. It was so beautiful. He came in a cab like he was a princess, his princess, and he's going to rescue me. He took a cab, he stopped in front of the hotel. I was already downstairs, I had already paid for the hotel, checked out. I was in front of the hotel waiting for him. The cab comes and I see my father. He opens that door for me, we hug. I said, oh my God, this is what I waited my entire life. For my father to hold me and say, he loved me. So I was fortunate enough to hear those words out of my father's mouth. I went with him and I spent 4 days with him, 3-4 days. But I was really depressed. I didn't want to eat. I didn't sleep. I didn't talk. I didn't do anything. My father was trying to make me eat. I didn't want to eat. So he called my siblings in another city, not Rio. We were in Rio, me and him. He called my siblings in Brasilia, and he said, look, she's not doing well. I cannot cheer her up. Could you just take her and take care of her? So they took care of me. They bought the ticket and everything. I said, I don't have the money to buy the ticket. He said, don't have to worry about anything. We already got you the ticket. Your siblings got you the ticket. You're going to Brasilia. I said, okay. So I just, at that point, I wasn't making any more decisions. No, I let them run the show, and I'm not really the type that, will allow family. I always want to be the strong person in the family, take care of everybody. But at that moment, I allowed them. I want to feel their love for me, and I allowed them to take care of me, so I could really feel their love. I knew I was going to kill myself. That idea had not left my mind. I want to feel their love. I want to feel it, soak every little bit of love that they had for me. And I allowed them to take care of me. For the first time in my life, I allowed somebody to take care of me. So they brought me to, my father drove me to the airport. They put me on a plane. I arrived in Brasilia and stayed with my sister in an apartment that actually was my apartment. I owned it since 1995. I bought it with the money that I sold another house in Rio de Janeiro, and then bought that apartment in Brasilia. So they just took care of me, but I wasn't improving. They wanted to commit me. Yes, I remember now. I wasn't doing well. They started talking about putting me in a mental hospital. And then I ran away. I ran away from them because I didn't want them to commit me to a mental hospital. And I had a little piece of land in the middle of nowhere, which was grass. I had that for many years. And I quickly built a shack in there that I could at least sleep in there and be away from my family that they wanted to commit me to a mental hospital. And I thought this would be good, because then I'm going to kill myself here with car exhaust. I bought a little Beetle, Volkswagen Beetle, and I thought if I let it run, put some pipes into the room, take some sleeping pills, I will die from the car exhaust. But then when I put the plan in action, I had somebody build the shack. It was very simple, it was wood. They had some brick for the base, but most of it was wood. He built that real quick. Volkswagen Beetle. I didn't have much money. I had still the $10,000 that I had transferred to my father. He gave it back to me. I was spending it. I still had a little bit of the money left, and that's the money I used to buy the bricks and the wood to build the shack. So when I put my plan into action, that I turned on the Volkswagen Beetle and I let the car exhaust fill the room, it made a lot of noise. The acoustics increased the sound of the car running, and the neighbors they went there to see what was going on. Why there was so much noise? I said, that's not going to work. So I have to wait for a different day where there will be a carnival music festivity. People will be screaming, so there will not be attention to this car running. So that there was months away. We're talking March, and the next festivity month it was June. I was gonna have to wait until June. So I kept postponing the day I was gonna kill myself. Then I tried jumping from the top of another hotel building. I tried it 3 or 4 times, but it's expensive. Each time I went there, I spent $1,000. It's like, because it's a high floor, it costs more money. But every time I would wait until the late hours, something would happen. Some car would park right under where I had to jump, and I was afraid that I was going to fall on top of the car and cushion my fall, and I was going to live and be paraplegic. So something always happened. I said, I cannot afford to keep going to those hotels and pay $1,000 to jump from a building. I never do it. I have to think of another way. So I bought a little stove with coal. With coal, I thought I would pretend to make a barbecue the neighbors would think that I was making barbecue, and actually it was, was gonna die from the smelling, the fumes from the coal. I had different ideas of how to kill myself, all from that suicide.com file. I got all those ideas from that file. But in the meantime, the guy that built my shack, he was a worker on the construction store, and we became close because I was meeting with him frequently to tell him how I wanted him to build the shack. And he was the only person I was talking to. I was running away from my family. My family wanted to commit me, so I didn't want to be near them. I didn't want to be near anybody that knew me because they were going to put me in a mental institution.
Let's come back to where we were. So, when you killed Carl on March 12th, you still owned your condo in New York City, right?
Yes, I did.
And how much was that worth?
$300,000.
Okay. And did you ever make any attempts to sell the condo?
Never.
Okay.
I never looked back in anything in the U.S.
Okay. And do you know what happened to the condo?
It went into foreclosure.
The gentleman you were talking about who you met, who was the worker, you eventually married him?
I did.
Okay. And he's your third husband?
Yes.
Okay. And he's in Brazil?
Yes. He's a very simple man. He is uneducated. He doesn't know how to speak well. He's a very simple man. Very poor.
Well, let's focus here for a second. So, on March 12th, 2007, did you plan to kill Carl Hoerig?
Never for a second.
Okay. If he'd not said the words he said to you while you were on the landing, would you have killed him?
Oh no, he would be alive now. I would have been dead.
Okay. So you killed him because you were upset about what he said to you?
I did lose. I lost. I got very angry. I thought it was something that you don't tell anybody, and mainly your wife that is carrying your child. I lost control of myself.
And were you upset that he grabbed you by the throat and pushed you down?
Objection, it's all leading. We've asked this.
We've asked and answered. Rephrase it and let's try to finish up.
Besides what he said to you, was there anything else that happened on the landing that upset you?
I was most upset over him telling me that he was going to adopt his daughters on being a mother. But it's different when you actually have that inside of you. It does change the things inside of you.
That's all you want.
Ladies and gentlemen, that completes the direct inquiry. We have a cross-examination. It was too late to start that today. We'll start it at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Again, report down to the jury room, and we'll try to get started on time. Do not discuss this case among yourselves, nor with anyone else. Do not form or express an opinion. Avoid hearing anything on the media or internet. Have a good evening. We'll see you tomorrow.